Hello and welcome to this video for Spider-Man. I am Frankcubed, and in this video I will show you the tips and solutions to the Oscorp Research Stations. So let's get started. Now the Oscorp stations are scattered all throughout the map, and to unlock them you have to first do a specific mission that unlocks the very first one that's in Hell's Kitchen. Now, an important note is that these Oscorp stations often have varying mission parameters, so each one has their own little quirks and rules and such, which I'll walk you through as we get to them. So here we go. Now this research station has two stages to it. The first stage requires you to go through multiple clouds of poison. And to do this, all you gotta do is find the cloud of poison that you can see on the mini-map to the bottom right, and then find where that poisonous cloud is and fall through it, run through it, swing through it, whatever you gotta do. And once that happens, and you collect enough of these clouds, it'll send you on to the next stage. And now we'll move to the second stage of this mission, where we have to snap pictures of the culprits behind these poisonous gas clouds. And it's usually cars and such. I think there's a chimney somewhere in there. And all you gotta do is find their red insignias on the bottom mini-map. Now this station has two major stages to it. The first one has you grabbing barrels out of the water and flinging them back onto the land.
Now that it's clear, this is a perfect spot to spray.
Once you reach the needed number of barrels out, it'll now unlock the second stage of the station, which involves you dispersing a vaccine into the water to make it safe for the fishes. Now, this mission was done very early in my playthrough, so my web swinging wasn't very elegant at this point, so I just end up dipping in the water over and over. So hopefully you do a much better job than I did on this one. This station has two major different stages and one little minor one. The first stage will require you to use your spidey sense to follow the piping all the way down to its source, where you could crank a wheel. And once you crank the wheel, you'll end up causing the water towers up above to spring a leak.
Easy enough to
The
fix.
science. So then now, the second stage has you swinging around, searching for these water towers, and plugging their holes with your sticky webbing. Once you do this, it'll open the third minor stage of the station, to where you'll have to find a plugged up pipe that leads towards the ocean, and you gotta unplug the trash, and then the water will dump out.
Fight crime and fix your shower.
Now this station has two major stages, and it's exactly like the very first station that we ever played to unlock all the rest. So what you'll have to do is just collect the poisonous samples of gas, and then in the second stage you'll have to take the picture of the things causing these poisonous gases. And as you can see here, these guys will get pretty aggressive because this car ran over me and I had to chase it down to take its picture. So be careful, pedestrians. So for this station, it requires you to reach a tower off in the distance to reactivate it so that all the phones start working all correctly. And now I should note, I played this level muted, so I didn't know the exact dangers of what was going on. So I started playing like normal and found myself within a layer of danger immediately. So for those who want to survive, know that both above and below you are different layers of static electricity that'll hurt you. Just wait for them to move out of your way, and then you can safely swing to the next building, and then just hold the position and just keep moving forward like that. Don't do what I did, where I just rushed in like crazy and hoped that I survived. Now, this station will require you to carry a poison that melts Spider-Man's webbings. So as you swing toward your destination, you'll notice that your webbing will melt. So traversal isn't as normal as it usually is. So you're usually stuck to either shorter methods of using your webs to get where you need to go. And once you do get where you need to go, which is a lab, you'll then have to solve this puzzle. And then here is the solution to that puzzle. Now when that happens, you're still carrying the poison, but it no longer melts your webs. So now you take this new concoction back to another location, and you try it out, and then you find out it works, and then it's station accomplished. For this station, you'll first have to drop down into this designated area, and then once you activate the icon, you'll then assume the role of the Spidey Bot. From here, you'll go down into its POV and have a slight Beastmaster vision, and you'll start running around the city looking for these clouds of green gas that is coming up from the ground. Now you'll continue following the trail, going from cloud to cloud, and occasionally scaring away a group of large people. And then eventually, you'll make your way all the way to the end, to where you'll find a dude that's trying to run away from you. I think he's the cause of the gas. I'm not sure. But either way, you track him down, and then you web him up really good to that tree to make sure he don't get away. And with that, the station is clear.
Got it. Now to get the...
This station has two separate stages. The first one has you climbing atop these satellite dishes that are shooting out a red beam. And what you got to do is, once you're atop the satellite dish, you're going to revolve the beam around, looking for another red beam that's shooting straight up into the air.
Got it.
Once you properly lock on, the horizontal red beam will now turn into a green beam. Once this happens, you know to move on to the next satellite dish. Now, show caution because you do have a time limit, so you gotta be really fast.
It's taking up all that space on
now, once all the beams are connected, it'll open up a second stage where you have to run up to this console. Once you activate the console, you'll now have to solve the puzzle. And to do this, it requires you to put a -2 red bar and a -3 red bar. And then later on, it'll require you to use a +4 bar and a +3 bar. And when you do this correctly, the voltage will equal out and you'll finish the station. Now, this station is probably one of the more elaborate stations there are in the game because it has multiple steps and it requires you to do multiple things.
Start.
And the first thing you gotta do is first activate this pipe, and then once you do, a puzzle will pop up, and then here's the solve to that puzzle. Now once you solve that puzzle, you'll now have to use your Spidey sense to find the next pipe. And when you do the Spidey sense, you'll see the pipe turning yellowish gold, and then you'll follow it to your next location, which will lead you to another puzzle. And now here's the solve to this one. Now once the second puzzle is solved, you'll then use your Spidey sense again, follow the pipe to lead towards another pipe that you gotta activate.
The whole neighborhood's in danger from this.
And then now here is the puzzle solve for that third puzzle. Now it'll take you to the final stage where you go to this new area where you'll have to now dilute the poison by breaking bags of concrete over it to clear the air. Now, when you do so, be careful when you touch the ground because the poison is poison and it'll poison you. So once you slam the concrete bag over the poison barrel, get back to safety, find your next target, and do it over and over until the station is complete. Now this station will have you inoculating a series of pigeon areas. And to do this, you first have to track down these flying rats. And you do this by using this little blue meter thing to the left, and it'll help guide you in the direction to go, and also how close you are to them. Now as you swing around, you'll eventually get to the area where you need to go, and you'll see on the bottom right mini-map that there'll be an area that now has a greenish tint to it. Once you get to that area, the station will now have you disperse the vaccine in that area. And you do this by just pressing the button and swinging around or running around. And once that area is clear, it'll now tell you to go to another area and do the same thing.
Okay.
You'll do this a few times until it says everything is cool. Now go check up on some of the birds to see if the medicine is working. And as you can see here, right next to this pigeon worshipping area, that you have accomplished your goals. Good job. This mission will require you to arm yourself with your electrical webbing and swing around Times Square, reactivating the electrical billboards that have gone all staticky. You'll do this several times until the station's all fixed up and everything is good. Now, this mission requires you to be a bit of a daredevil. What you'll have to do is you'll have to find a very tall building, high enough to meet the height requirements that the station is asking you for, and then jump off that building and free fall all the way down until its height requirement is met. Once that happens, you'll then have to swing out to safety before you touch ground. If you do this correctly, green gas will fly out your body, and then you'll have to meet another height requirement and find another building and do it over and over. Now, what I find the best thing to do is find a much taller building than you need to reach the height requirement. This will make it a little bit easier on the swing out and the requirements that the station needs. Now, once you've fallen down a certain amount of required heights, the final thing the station will ask you to do is to jump into the dirty pond and reach this little icon and activate it. For this station, you'll be tasked to web up these vents within a certain time limit. So what you'll do is just swing around these series of buildings, finding the holes, and plugging them up. And these holes will also be visible on the bottom mini-map, so just look for those things. Of course, you'll have to find the height to where they're at, but you'll get their general direction. And once you fill up all these things, you'll now be required to turn this pipe to make things all level again. Now, this station will require you to have the ground strike ability. Without it, you can't even activate this station. But once you do have it, what you'll do is jump off any building or jump off from any height, and then use the ground strike to strike the ground. Once you do so, this satellite image of the city will open up. It'll show your location, and it'll also show the location of a tank, outlined in red, and pipes that lead towards somewhere else. So what you do is when you return back to gameplay, if you look at your minimap, that red tank will now have a blue icon on it. Go towards that tank, and once you see the icon, again, do the ground strike on the tank. And you're going to do this several times over until the mission is complete. Now, this station is one of the few stations that can actively kill you if you mess up. So what happens is that you'll get a stealth suit,
I need to get within 10 meters
and
of the drone to
it allows you to cloak yourself from the visibility of these drones that are flying around.
Nailed it. Now I've got to
So
go
what you
visible
do
again so I can
is
swing to the others.
you'll have to get within the drone's red orb of danger and then hit R1 to destroy them. Now, if you're not cloaked and you enter these red orbs of danger, they will mess you up really bad, really fast. So make sure you're cloaked. After you destroy all the designated drones, the station will be clear.
Another one bites.
Now, this station will yet again have you don the role of the Spider Bot. Once you find the designated location to activate the icon, you'll now become the Spider Bot once again. But this time, instead of tracking down clouds of gas, you'll now be tracking down the last locations of your fellow Spider Bot buddy. So now we're just going to follow this trail to find out what happened to our little mechanical friend. Now, once we reach the end, we'll find that it was a pigeon that stole it. A bird. The very birds that you saved from dying from poison before. The traitors. Now this station will have you once again having to realign a series of satellite dishes. So what you'll do is you'll get on top of the satellite dish and then revolve it around until you find a red beam that's shooting straight up into the air. Go ahead and link up the satellite dish with that beam, and if done correctly, the red horizontal beam will turn green, and then you'll have to move to the next satellite dish and do the same thing once again. You'll do this several times over, just like before in previous missions. Now, the one catch though is that there's no longer a time limit, but instead there is an element of danger. So what will happen is that since there's a storm going on, there's a chance that you'll get struck by lightning.
Got it.
And you'll know this when you start to hear a crackling effect and also a new special effect surrounding your body. If that wasn't enough warning, you'll also see on the mini-map below to the right that there's designated circular areas in a tint of light green. When you see these, drop whatever you're doing and get out of those sections, because if you don't get out of there in time, you're gonna get fried. Now, once you link up all the satellites and stop yourself from becoming a lightning rod, you'll then be tasked to go to the Oscorp building, to where you'll now have to jump on a big giant satellite dish and link up with several other things that are circling around you. Once you do that, the station is clear. And there you go. You have now cleared all Oscorp Research Stations. Thanks for watching.